I was looking at helmets today and thinking of upgrading my helmet. Now, I'm happy with this one. This is the LS2 MX436 helmet. And I was thinking, I've had this thing for about 5 years. So I decided I better do a review on it, because how many people have a 5-year review on a helmet? Maybe other people have reviewed these helmets long term, and that's fine. But here's mine. It is more of an adventure sort of dual sport helmet. I would put it more in the dual sport helmet category, because you have this peak here, so there's the kind of view of it. I took this off, and I've of course lost the screws long ago, so I don't know what the hell to do with that. Now I take a 2XL helmet, so this is a very, very large helmet. You do kind of tend to look like a bobblehead with a giant helmet on like this, but that's just the nature of the game. The paint has faded because this is where the peak was, and of course you can see how much that orange there has faded. It was a very nice orange before, but the visor, it has a lot of swirl scratches in it. And every time I've cleaned this, I've cleaned it with regular glass cleaner, but it still has those swirl scratches in it. However, the polycarbonate here has cracked out, so if you were to take this visor or this face shield off and on quite a bit, I would imagine that it would just straight up break right off right along this edge here. And the same with the other side. Isn't quite as bad, but it's cracked, you can see. These screws on the face shield have, every time you can see that every time you open it up and close it, it's essentially loosening those things. So what you got to do, if I still have it in my pocket here, this is at least what I've done. I get a coin, and you can see how this is kind of all deformed. I mean, our currency is worthless anyway, but if you just take a coin, actually this one doesn't really quite fit. A penny works perfectly, but you can tighten that up. Shame on LS2 for not putting wing nuts or wing bolts in here, but there, works a little bit better. But then of course that makes it extremely stiff. Now that's fine because it'll hold itself open at whatever point, but then when you do that a couple of times, again, it'll loosen right up. So and it's already loose. Like that won't take any wind resistance right there. These are Pro Grip goggles. They're fairly large size, and they just don't quite lock in there like they should. They do kind of pop out, but that's fine because I like to have a little bit of a space between my face and the goggles, so I'm not too concerned about that. It is a nice wide open goggle area, and as you can see, they have a little embroidered thing on there that says good for glasses, basically. And I have used big old aviators in this thing, and it's been perfect. However, this, if I can even actuate it anymore, yeah, it's as you can see, it literally actually just broke the this sun visor thing. Of course it won't work with the goggles in it, but yeah, so I actually, you know what, yeah, every time when you're looking at goggles, you're like, oh, it's got the sun visor feature, it's going to be nice. The amount of times I've actually used that thing has got to be only like 5 times, and that's only because I forgot to bring my goggles, because these goggles, they don't have a very massive tint on them, but it's slightly orange, it's not dark. But if you don't have a peak where you can kind of block out the sun with the peak, then maybe these would be useful. But I don't know. Maybe it just doesn't get sunny enough where I ride to ever warrant having those. And of course, the whole assembly here, the whole side of the helmet has cracked. Yeah, that's literally breaking right over there. Man, that's not good. I mean, over time, things are just gonna wear through like that anyway, but as you can see, like, it's held up all right. I've had a lot of duct tape and stuff all over this helmet and washed it several times and dropped it even more. It takes a comm system all right. It's fairly spacious in there for a 2XL. Actually, I thought it was a bit small at first, but of course it wore in. Now I have long hair, and usually I like to wrap it up in a ponytail. And I also use something like this. I forget what these are called, but I'm sure there's many places that sell them. It's just a leather strap that you fold over and it kind of holds your hair tight. But putting it on with a ponytail, it'll pinch this. It'll pinch here. So you got to kind of press your hair out of those creases. As you can see, there's some hair in there. Fits speakers good. It's actually very comfortable inside. But I'll be upgrading to a MIPS system. Hopefully interior comfort is going to be present with that. It does have a big old air vent on the front that of course I've covered up with a GoPro. The air vent I never found actually to be worthwhile. Honestly, I could never tell if it was open or if it was closed with the amount of airflow through it. These air vents up here, you can't do anything with those. Pull out cheek pieces, which are a pain in the butt to try and get back in, of course. And they're constantly, if you put that comm system in here, it really spreads it open. So it'll kind of often pull itself back apart. I love the ratchet strap. It works, and it's so quick and it's so simple. I don't know why these aren't on every helmet, and they're super strong. At least this is. LS2 makes a good ratchet strap. Yeah, no, overall I'm very happy with the LS2. I don't think it's the best helmet on the market, personally, but it worked very well for what I'm using it for. I mean, I haven't crashed it a whole lot anyway, but it has lasted me 5 years and thousands and thousands of miles. So the face shield latch, like everything about this face shield is just wrong. Honestly, like what this is a motocross helmet with a face shield. Honestly, that's what it is. The actual latch that connects to the helmet, the tab, broke right off. So there's no latching to this anymore. And I wish it would have broken off on the face shield first, because the face shields usually are replaceable, right? But alas, that is not the case. The visor, it's a great visor. Nothing wrong with the visor. It's very flexible, even after 5 years. Oh, they're just cracked. Actually, never mind. I guess not after 5 years, but in the areas that it's supposed to bend, it's fairly good. Yeah, so I mean, who cares about a crack in your visor anyway? But it is fairly noisy on the highway. Of course, you would expect something like this to be fairly noisy, but for what it is, like I say, you don't want to be riding this at any speed without earplugs. And I would just, no matter what you're doing, I always put earplugs in anyway, because it is not worth risking the hearing damage. But yeah, I wanted to get, because of course I own enduro and supermoto style bikes, I did want to get the dual sport style helmet. So I'm very happy with that. And when I took this to Las Vegas, that's why the peak is off. Of course, like I say, I lost the screws, so it hasn't gone back on. But I did just take that visor off, and it's not you won't look stupid riding a Ducati with that, or at least too stupid anyway. But yeah, so I'm going to be upgrading to, it's the Z1R range MIPS helmet. So maybe in another 5 years I'll do a review on that. But Hopefully that is going to be a little bit better on the visor. It looks like it's got a better visor system than this. It's literally just a screw. Like, that's the worst thing that you could do right there, just because opening and closing. That's the biggest gripe I have with this helmet, is opening and closing that. Because what if that, you know, gets too loose and it flies off on the highway somewhere? Fairly all right seal, top and bottom, but if the visor doesn't latch, it's worthless anyway. And of course, if you have the goggles in there, it's fairly worthless as well, because it just opens it up at the side. But overall, like I say, I'm not impressed, but it was definitely worth money for sure. And if I really had to, like, if there wasn't another option on the market, like the Z1R with the MIPS on it, that's, you know, it's in the same price range, I would definitely buy another one of these. If you enjoyed, or if you care, or if you want to see the next review in another 5 years, go ahead, subscribe. But I won't force you. So there you go.